Probably have the maximum very likely all kinds of
Good. Okay. I'd like to call the regular board meeting of the Board of Supervisors, March 4th, and to order. And Mr. Williams, would you lead us in a prayer, please?
Let us close our eyes. Gracious God, our Father, we come once again. Father, for in the scriptures you say, how can the blind lead the blind lest everybody end up in the ditch? Father, be with us now as a board, as a county, as a family, God. Strengthen us where we are weak and make us strong. Father, in lack, you know how we say, Father, at the end of the day, Father, it'd be a blessing that you would see and be proud of the things that we do and the things that we say. In Jesus' name, we all do pray. Amen.
Ms. Hammond, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Hammond, would you do a roll call, please?
Mr. Williams,
Here.
Mr. Bill Harris,
Here.
Mr. Crittenden,
Here.
Mr. Jesse,
Here.
Mr. Don Harris.
Here. All right. Before we do the approval of the consent agenda, we had a little confusion. That's a good word.
If I'll take, you want me to take it from here?
I would, please.
Okay,
Thank you.
Before we request approval of the consent agenda, we need to fix or clarify one of the items that was approved. And Shanae and I both disagreed, as did Matt, as to what was actually approved, and that is specific to the regular meeting schedule for 2025. As you can see, when the agenda was presented to you all, we had April 1st moved for spring break, July 1st moved for the holiday, and September 2nd moved for the holiday. We're not sure for each of these whether the first date was approved or the second date was approved. There was discussion, very little, and then it was adopted. And again, her note said one thing, mine said another. And even Tracy from the school district, she was here, she said something different. So if we could get a clarification as to what the board would like us to have in the minutes, we'd like to correct the minutes if appropriate.
And my discussion with the staff was, I thought that we had this, we looked at it, but we decided to go with the calendar that was already, that we already had. So if there's any changes, is that the way y'all understood that?
For some reason, I put the 8th of April as our meeting in my calendar. And I generally put the dates in my calendar as we're here. I could have messed up now.
How about July? Did you put the 8th on that?
Yes, I did.
Okay, well, while you're there, how about September? Did you have that date moved?
I have September on the 9th.
Thank you
Okay.
for clarifying that we were confused. That was our disagreement as well.
Is that what everybody else assumed?
Yeah, I did.
You did.
I did, but we go through so many things here.
Okay.
I know,
I couldn't,
I know.
but I would kind of remember that, in the past, when the holiday falls on a certain day. And
Okay.
spring break, we did that in the past, I can tell you that.
Okay. So I'm just looking for a consensus here unless you want to discuss it more. Is everybody good with what you see in front of you with the 3 date changes of April 1, July 1, and September 2nd? Reggie?
Okay.
Oh, okay. All right.
Thank
So
you.
we're all good with that?
Yeah, I would just like to make a motion on that, Mr. Chair, and we have it officially in the book.
Please do it.
All right. I'll make a motion that we change the date from the April 1st to April 8th, and July 1st to July 8th, and September the 2nd to September the 9th.
Second,
Okay, Mr. Jesse made the motion for the changes of the regular calendar and Mr. Bill Harris second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Bill Harris,
yes.
Mr. Crittenden,
Yes.
Mr. Jesse,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris.
Yes, okay, we have amended the calendar to the dates that you see there, and if you need a copy, Shanae, do you have some copies of that?
I can make some.
Oh, I thought you said you had a couple.
I went back to the original dates. I didn't make a copy with it. I didn't make the copy with the changes because I
Okay.
was waiting for it to be approved first.
Okay, wonderful.
Anyway, we do apologize for that, but glad we got this clarification. Thank you.
All righty. So that is the amended Board of Supervisors calendar of meetings, and we'll get you guys a copy of that. It may be one in the book, is it not one? I think that's in the book, right?
Good. This sheet is in the book.
Okay, good. Yep, it's on page 15.
15.
Okay. All right, with that, a motion would be in order to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second it.
So moved by Mr. Crittenden and seconded by Mr. Jesse. Any further changes that need to be made? Seeing none, hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Crittenden,
Yes.
Mr. Jesse,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris.
Yes, motion is carried. Okay, I'd like to welcome the public here today. And with that, I'll open the floor for public comment.
I have, my first registered public speaker is Lee Roberts from Topping.
Good afternoon, Board and Middlesex County. I'd like to make a comment on Shavonda Randall and the Southside Sentinel story today. There should be no reason her family can't set up the camper to live under these circumstances. The property that had the catastrophic fire sits by itself with no immediate neighbors. While just under 2 miles away, there lies hundreds of campers. I believe this opens the discussion to a bigger issue. There needs to be a provision in place that addresses emergency housing in the event of a disaster. Hopefully, Middlesex County will come up with a plan that avoids the mistakes of North Carolina, where people who lost everything can't accept temporary housing due to codes, but can instead freeze to death without. Codes and zoning came out of the need of the common good of the people. It's about time that need is served. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Anyone else?
Yes, hold on, my second public speaker is Michelle Putman of Deltaville. And as you note, she's the one who has brought these to you in front of you. Let me throw them at, so you have this from her.
Yes, I'm here to talk about Historic Garden Week and put it into a context. I'm here from the Garden Club of the Middle Peninsula, which is a chapter of the Garden Club of Virginia. And every year since 1927, Historic Garden Week has happened annually. And it's been dubbed the country's most largest open house. Last year, we had 24,000 visitors that participated statewide. And it generated over $824,000 statewide. Those proceeds go to restoration and preservation efforts to preserve historic gardens, public gardens. In the state of Virginia, there's been a lot of work done at the Jefferson property, Stratford Hall, Christ Church. And that brings us to the Garden Club of the Middle Peninsula. We are a chapter of the Garden Club of Virginia, and we are comprised of 4 counties. It's Middlesex, Essex, King and Queen, and King William. And this year, it's our turn to host the tour. It hasn't been in Middlesex since 2016. COVID scuttled the last one. So it's been a while since we've hosted it. Last year, it was in Essex, and we had just shy of 800 visitors, which kind of speaks to the tourism potential. We'll have a lot of people come to Middlesex for the first time. And as you'll notice in this brochure, we've had a lot of local business support. I want to point out that this tour is also nationally advertised. The guidebook that you have there, 55,000 copies have been printed and distributed. We'll begin to put them out in the county over the next week. And we'll be putting these out at businesses and post offices, et cetera, to get the word out. It's also on Facebook, Instagram. I think we're trying to get it on River Realm, but it is on the county website already. So I did want to just bring that to your attention. Last year, we had visitors from 43 states and 16 countries. So it's kind of a nice chance to showcase Middlesex. And this year, we're kind of celebrating the river, our history, and our beautiful landscapes. So does anybody have any questions? Oh, it's Friday, May the 2nd. Can I answer any other questions?
I have a couple.
Yeah.
As usual.
Sure.
This back part highlights all the places that will be open for people
Correct.
to visit, correct?
Correct.
Okay, wonderful. And I see that there's, to participate in that tour, it's $40 in advance or $50 a day of the tour.
Correct. Most of the tickets are purchased online through GCV.
Okay,
I also want to point out too, this is important. Typically, the tour lasts 8 days. And on most given days, there's 2 to 3, maybe even 4 tours a day scattered throughout the state. On that Friday, we are the only tour. So that's kind of nice. We get a lot of people from out of town. The average visitor who stays overnight spends about $1,200, whether it's lodging, shopping, the tour, restaurants. So it's, we kind of want to put our best foot forward.
wonderful. Not to tell you how to do your business, and I'm far from wanting to do that, but I did notice you had Christ Church Historical Cemetery listed. It might be a thing y'all may want to consider, given print ability for how much you want to get on a page, but Chesty Puller is buried at Christ Church, and
You're right.
he's
You're
the most
yeah.
decorated soldier ever. You might want to think about including that at some point.
That's a good point. And I would say we probably could get that on the, unfortunately, this was limited space.
Yes.
But yes, you're absolutely correct. And maybe we can get that on the internet.
Okay.
But yes, you're right.
That was just one thing that jumped out on me. That a lot of people come
Right.
to not only view the church
Mhm.
and the cemetery, but they come to view Chesty Puller
Right.
being the most decorated Marine out there. So anyway,
You're right. So
any
we'll
other
fix that
questions?
The best we can.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. We invite you all. I know it's a Friday, but please be on the lookout. We'll have these posted throughout the county also.
Looks good. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. My next speaker is Shawanda Randall.
I don't have very much to say, except I thank God that I'm still here. But I wanted to speak to you from my heart because since December 7th, I have had to jump through so many hoops and over so many barrels. And with my faith, I'm still standing here. And the only reason I'm still standing here, I feel like I'm losing my mind. I call one person for help. Can't help. You got a rule for this. You got a rule for that. Let me tell you something. You need to think about suddenly. If this happened to you, your family members, any of you, not wishing nothing bad on you. But there should be a clause, a blanketed clause for anyone that is going through the situation that I'm going through, where I don't have to be tossed around like a hot potato, where I don't know who I'm supposed to talk to. When I talk to one person, oh, I don't know. When I talk to another, they know other stuff they ain't supposed to know and gonna tell me. I ask that we try to learn from this experience and try to be more open-minded, more loving and kind, more empathetic towards our neighbors, towards our friends, towards our family. I have been in this community since 2001. But I don't feel like I'm a part of this community. And that's sad. That's truly sad. I wish God's blessing on all of you. All I ask is that you just think about what I said. There needs to be an advocate. There needs to be a blanketed clause for someone that's going through my situation, where they don't have to jump through so many hoops, where your rules and regulations are laxed a little bit. I didn't say you had to get rid of them. I'm not asking for any favors. What I'm asking for is a little kindness. Thank you and have a blessed evening.
Thank you, ma'am, for your thoughts. Anyone else? Ms. Riccardi?
I have no more speakers. Oh, there is someone who likes to speak.
Please present your name and where you're from.
Excuse me. My name is Joe Beck. I'm the president of the Whiting Creek Property Owners Association, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. As a board member, one of the things that we wrestle with is the speed of both our residents and our visitors into our community. And I am here to ask, both help from the county and from VDOT to try to figure out how we can address some of the issues. And I will say it is both residents who live in the community or passing through, and then around Christmas or before Christmas, there's a lot of deliveries and things like that. I understand that they have schedules to keep, Not trying to be unreasonable, but there are situations where people are put potentially in harm's way because of the speeding. VDOT has been great in helping us kind of clear sight along some of our curbs and things like that by trimming bushes, and we greatly appreciate that support. I'm assuming that other communities have similar issues as we have. I'd just like to better understand what the county, what VDOT, and what these communities are doing to try to address that particular situation and see if we can piggyback on some of their ideas and things like that. I know that speed bumps are something that most of us as residents and people who would be using the roads are not in favor of. I did put a speed bump up there a couple months ago, and VDOT was kind enough to remove it and save it for me, and I did get it picked up. But part of it is I just think that if we're going to continue to grow as a county, we need to figure out how to share ideas and to use resources within the communities to try to address speeding and things like that. We have a number of people that walk. We have folks that have small kids, baby carriages and things like that. We don't have sidewalks, as you know. So part of it is just if someone is going more than 25 miles an hour and some kind coming around a curve or something like that, it does put someone at risk. And I just would like to figure out how we can better address that situation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your comments. Ms. Riccardi, you got anybody else?
I do not have any other speakers.
I'll open it up to the floor. Does anybody else like to speak? Seeing none, hearing none, I'll close the public comment session. Mr. Williams, you got something you'd like to say?
Joe, and these, the visions, I'm commenting on because I talked to the gentleman a number of times. And, the idea, I told him, ask him to come up here today to speak because we got to be aware of our neighborhoods and the things and the places we stay. And VDOT is the big person here. So, I would just like to get a record and see if we can contact VDOT that we can do something, not only that neighborhood, but other neighborhoods that have the same problem. So I appreciate him coming up to speak today. I asked him and hopefully the board and VDOT can do something to help communities like this. And somebody got to be example, as you know, for somebody else, because sometimes you got to change the old things you do to make it better for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Moving right along, item number 3, constitutional officers. Treasurer, we have Ms. Wright here. Thank you for being here. It is a report only. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Wright? Thank you for being here. Item 3, number B, Commissioner of Revenue, Ms. Diggs. Thanks for being here, and we will need to talk to you.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
So I do have more information on the rebates, information, and I was able to reach out to Henrico and, Louisa County. So what I was able to find out with Louisa County, they adopted an ordinance and it's based on code section 15.2-2511.1, and it references return of local surplus plus funds. For Louisa, they did it back in 2023. They did a 5% rebate on all real estate bills. So the software system that we use, BAI, municipal software, right, by everyone, they had to create a program which allowed for the rebate to be applied automatically and calculated by the system. So it would apply on each bill, which cut down on a lot of checks and paperwork for the treasurer's office because it's done ahead of time instead of after the fact. And then with Henrico, they've done it twice so far, March of 22 and September of 23. They did a 2% rebate on all real estate bills. They actually issued refunds after the bills were out and paid, and it was all done through they have a finance department, so the revenue side was our treasurer would do that. They had to issue 95,000 checks, and they had to also issue 16,000 credits to the accounts. And so the checks were over $50. So what their board did was if it was a rebate that was gonna be $50 or below, they applied the credit of $50 or whatever the amount to the account, so they didn't have to issue checks for that. And then they still had 95,000 checks to issue that were $51 or more. They actually have a third-party vendor who does accounts payables for them. So that vendor was able to do that within a week's time, compared to our treasurer's office having to do it over a span of months. And they also had IT support who were able to extract the data to be able to do the credits and issue the checks, get that information to the vendor to issue the checks. But I also found out with Henrico, they have a real tax relief program, which is similar to ours, which is based on age or disability, 100% disabled persons. And it has an income requirement and a net worth requirement. And so that program follows pretty much along the same as our tax relief program, but they have an additional program and it's called the recap program. And what that does is if you meet the age or disability requirement, income requirements, net worth requirements, you're able to cap your real estate bill from the time you enter the program. So you would recertify every 2 years. And then every 3rd year, similar to the tax relief program, you do your complete certification where you turn in your income and everything that may or may not have changed. And so it caps your real estate bill. So if you enter the program with them and say your real estate bill is $500 for the year, it caps it at that 500. So if there's a reassessment or any changes, you're still going to pay 500 but you have to be eligible for the program to get that benefit.
Well, you brought back a lot of information. You did really well. Thank you very much. I kind of feel I should say something what we're talking about, because I don't know everyone here is, okay. Well, we're coming up on here for long, we have to do a reassessment, okay? And the reassessment seems to always go, the assessments come in high, you end up lowering our tax rate. And then the next thing you know, you hear, well, your tax rate is so low, you can afford to raise taxes and do it on your own. The grants aren't exactly maybe as good when you have a lower tax rate. So some of the other counties that she mentioned have looked at doing it a different way. And basically what they're doing is they're keeping their tax rate the same. And for some reason, they don't look at a refund as being negative towards how many grants and stuff you could get as your tax rate. So they don't take the refund thing into consideration. It doesn't appear. So what May has done, and I really appreciate you going through all that, you did an excellent job, is our tax rate would stay the same after the assessment. And in order to keep the tax increase or no tax increase, it would be done through on a refund. It sounds like Louisa had the best idea. It's all on one sheet of paper. Takes a little bit of computer adjusting, but that seems to be the best from what I've just heard you bringing to us. So it's a help us to not do the same old shell game with our assessments. The assessment gets done, we lower our tax rate, and then all you hear is, well, your tax rate's so low, so you don't qualify for this, you can raise your taxes. So these counties have gone to where they're keeping their tax rate, same thing, we keep our tax rate the same. And any kind of increase when we saw it through an assessment, we didn't want to raise any taxes. The amount of rebate would show that on the bill that there was no tax increase. For some reason there was, then the rebate wouldn't be as much and it'd show that. It's a way to keep our tax rate constant so that we don't keep going up and down. And it's always, when it's down, it's recognized as, you can just raise your tax rate. I do not know why they don't drill down and say where you're giving a refund, but that's not the case now. So these forward-thinking counties are doing something a little bit different, and I asked May to look into it, and I think Middlesex should try to look at doing something a little bit different than the same old shell game. So that's where this all came about, and I want to thank you again for the good job and good information you brought
I
Uh,
back.
have a copy of the code section. I'm gonna give it to Ms. Lewis,
Yeah.
and I will email you all a copy of that as well. That they're basing it off of as to how they're performing the rebate.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you for gathering all of that information. Is there any obstacle on your part or the treasurer's office on implementing something similar to this going forward?
It's the obstacle, I will say, I'm talking for Tracy, but the obstacle is doing it after the fact. There's a lot of work that goes into getting those checks issued, getting them out, handling that whole part. And I will say for myself, I help as much as I can. Tracy, whatever she needs, be support for her, but that would fall solely on her shoulders to issue all of those checks back if we don't try to do it as a part of the billing cycle.
Right.
Which for me would be very easy as I'm going through the process of generating the bills, with the program that we would have to, the county would have to purchase from Bright. But it's all been thought out by Louisa, so it would be a matter of having Bright give us that enhancement for their fee.
From what she said today, it sounds like the Louisa approach is by far the best because we don't want to be cutting checks. We want it to be on one sheet of paper, shows the rebate, shows the amount of tax, so forth and so on one sheet. And I think that would be the easiest thing for staff as well.
I would think the hard part for you all would be drafting the ordinance and agreeing on percentage.
Would you give me an example of the rebate?
So, yeah, actually I can. I have a copy. Now, this is a copy of Louisa's bill. They were kind enough to send me one. So basically with this property, the original tax bill was $1,811.52. With the 5% rate rebate that was applied, it was reduced by $90.58, and it all shows on the bill. And say that amount that's due minus that $90.
They got to qualify or put it on a list to get a
With the
rebate?
rebate, no, that would have to be adopted by ordinance, and it would be across the board for every property.
And so everybody be able to get a 5% rebate?
Yes.
Well,
Based-
No picking or choosing.
Yeah, I just can't see the base for the 5% rebate.
That's just what their board of directors, supervisors decided on, 5%. How they came to that amount, I can't tell you because I don't know the ins and outs.
what the rebate represents is not a tax increase. So when you do the assessments and the value, as we all feel, are going to go up, it's a way to keep our tax rate the same without putting a tax increase of a significant proportion across the people. The rebate will reflect how much tax increase. So if we want no tax increase, and the assessment says your bill used to be 750, and now the new assessment is 1,000, and we don't want any kind of tax increase, then on that one piece of paper, it would show your new tax is 1,000, your rebate is 250, and you're still paying the same amount. And our tax rate stays up so that we look a little better towards the grant side. It's a different approach, and some of the counties are looking at doing something a little different to help.
And I will say that, so when I say there's no picking and choosing, once you decide what percentage, because it would be based on a percentage, of each individual tax bill. So everyone's gonna get the same percentage off of their individual bills.
So you're still gonna have some type of reassessment?
Yes.
So you're gonna have a reassessment, and what you're saying is but the 5%?
Well, I'm not saying
rebate?
any of.
I mean, I'm just using it for
Yeah.
example. I gotta find a little bit more information because I always look at things at the end of the day, that you got so many bills you gotta pay. And you can rebate and run all around the bond all you want, but sooner or later you gotta go in the bond. So I just gotta get more information. I like different ideas and stuff.
Sure.
And see, I wanna understand it so I can tell some of them, people that come to me and say, Reggie, what you talking about? And I wouldn't have to tell them like I told them in the past, look, we're gonna do a reassessment and just look at your bill. Most of the time you do a reassessment, your property, real estate is gonna increase. And all of it, how much we keep, we can go where we want them. Our budget is gonna be based on the increase, and how we fix it is that way. Now, if we got a way we can help more people, I wanna make sure I see it real clear. But I'm game to all the new ideas because I don't like the way we do things right now. You know, so something new is going, I just want to be on top of it, that's all.
Yeah, I also would like to, look at, and I hear what you're saying in this situation, but then you gotta look at all your variables. We have a way more waterfront property than a lot of other counties. And then I want to look at economic impact that those other counties had, that Middlesex had. So see, if you gotta compare sometimes apples to apples, but if you compare apples to pears, now things gonna get off whack. I mean, I'm just, in common sense, in a lot of common sense. You would need to look at a lot of things, and and I know when you go through reassessment, values goes up, values go down, and I understand that system that you're talking about. I gotta get adjusted to it. But I want to know what all the other counties, how their economic impact and how their taxes are going up and down because they don't have the waterfront property that we had. And I'm gonna tell you that, and you know that. But it's something that we gotta look at. I'm not, and really the work gonna be on y'all, and you're gonna the ones gonna have to adjust to it or say, hey, well, I gotta think about this, and if can I do it, and if we have to do it, do we need more staff to do it or whatever, so it's just not easy as it seems because it's a lot of moving parts and a lot of variables. That's all I can say.
Thank you for starting the process of getting some of that information so we can maybe make the
And I
best
can-
informed decision we can for the citizens of the county. And just refresh my memory, because the last time we had a tax assessment, we delayed the billing or the payment for that bill while the adjustments were being made, correct?
That, personal property. That was personal property.
That was personal property. Okay,
Mhm.
my bad. Wonderful. Any other questions for Ms. Diggs?
I don't have any other question, but I know Matt Walker is online there. Matt, I'd like to hear something from you.
I'm gonna unmute. Can y'all hear me okay?
We can.
Yes.
Yeah, I got in at the tail end of public comment. I'm very intrigued by what I was talking to May about the rebate process and the other program that she mentioned. I'm very intrigued by it. And Wayne, thank you for calling on me because I don't want to interject because I realize we got a little bit of a delay and I don't want to talk over folks. The good news on all this is we have a little bit of time to get the necessary ordinances in place and pursue a little bit more knowledge on this type of thing. We will need it in place before the next reassessment comes into effect, which the earliest we can get that in is January 2027. So I think it's got a lot of potential. Wayne, I think you bring up a very valid point. We have $1 million waterfront homes, and if they get 5% back, their 5% is going to be a lot more than most of the people in this room. So it's something we've got to study and look at very close to make sure it will work for us. But I think I definitely agree with Bill, not having to adjust the rate, leaving the rate stable, and then kind of making everybody whole on the back end may be a very, very good way of doing it. We'll work very closely with May and Tracy to make sure the staffing impacts are negligible, if non-existent. It may just be a learning curve where we learn how to do it, and it may not be that much of a new process to have to need new staff or whatnot. But thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Diggs, for being here.
One more thing, if I may. I just wanted to kind of give you all an update as far as our tax relief for the elderly and disabled program goes. So each year I adjust the income threshold based on the consumer price index, which was an average of 2.9 for this year. So our range of income increased from 2024, it was 19,785 to 38,100. This year, our minimum, well, our lowest amount is 20,362, and it is raised up to 39,200. Just a reminder, the ordinance was revised in 2003 to increase the income increase the max exemption from $500 to $750. And then just an update, last year we had 86 participants. 86.
Thank you, Ms. Diggs.
Thank you.
Okay, moving right along, agency and staff reports. VDOT is just a report only that's in your packet, pages 54 and 55. I don't think there's any discussion on that, other than Reggie will be talking to VDOT about some speed limit issues maybe, or what we can do. School matters, no report. Social Security, Social Services is report only. That's in your packet, 56 and 57. And let's move right into D, Cook's Corner Center Park, parking lot discussion.
Technically, that's Central Park. Sorry about that.
Mr.
Can you bring that up so we can, hopefully the board can see it okay? You might have to rotate it. I was not at it at the second ago, so I'm trying to turn it around. Oh, there we go. Can everybody see that okay? See what the letter designations are?
Can we zoom in just a little bit so we can
Yeah.
see it?
So last month, Chip and I presented, that first scenario up on the, would be in the upper right-hand portion of that project, that angled parking. And pursuant to some comments at some board members, we came up with some other options. Chip can't be here this afternoon, but he drew up these 3 different options. And what we heard from the board is, maybe a desire to have some parking over by the kid building, and also have, eliminate the ingress egress off of the access road to the Polar Center, the sheriff's department, and move it over to the old bus loop road as shown. So Chip actually did 2 scenarios that would be located on the loop road. You see those labeled as, B and C. A is the portion by the kids building. So I guess to get clarity from the board to see where we have, I've spoken with a couple of board members, and as we move forward with the renovation of the arts, or, the old cafeteria, obviously if we do something in that of some nicer scale with some type of event center, we're going to need really some permanent parking. You're going to want a nice asphalt parking lot. And at that point, we're going to get engineering probably involved in it. We may do a master plan in here to see how it kind of all pans out, but eventually we're going to have to put numbers on it, probably make it work. So what the discussion now is just to try to alleviate a little bit of the parking issue that we have with the skate park and the basketball court and the playground. So, the discussion came up with these parking lots. So these different scenarios, I guess we want to tune in. At this point, we just want to do some gravel, minimum work at this point, what I'm gathering from the board members. Maybe get something to eliminate the parking issue. So these 3 options are on the table. Option C might be one of the more difficult ones to option A and C. A currently has some infrastructure in the way that'll have to be removed before we could put it in. I think even Mr. Williams mentioned the removal of the wells and those buildings in the way. That would be a good place to have some parking eventually, because it could serve that building. Option C, If you look at that, if you go out in the field, it looks like there's a little bit of, almost like a berm that would go down about the center of that drive aisle. So, you'd have some grading, a little bit more than just laying the gravel down on the surface to get some parking. And then you have option B, which appears to be probably the most low hanging fruit, so to speak, where you can put, just a little bit of gravel and get some parking there. So before we go any further and we put something a little bit tuned in, I want to make sure that we are kind of encapsulating what the board wants to do with this. I don't know if you want any interconnectivity. Do we still want to leave the angled parking there, just completely remove that option? And hook it up to one of the lower parking areas? So get some initial, some more feedback from the board on that going forward. That way we can kind of tune this in, and then we can get some, once we find out exactly what we're doing, we can get some prices together for gravel and that type of thing. So does anybody, I know Wayne, you had mentioned moving it over in that direction. Is that more what you were thinking of?
I was just thinking down the road, just as a safety spot
Mhm.
because of the sheriff department coming through there.
Yeah.
That's what I would really, but I like the B area, but I know they would have to walk a little ways to get there.
Yeah.
But right now, before everything gets going, it's just my own personal opinion. The slanted area, you're just gonna put gravel there for right now anyway.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's
For
all we would
temporary-
do at this,
Mhm.
that's all we would do at this first
Right,
stage
right,
anyway.
right.
And we might even move that gravel somewhere else once, master
Right,
plan is
right.
done. So,
I mean, as a temporarily right now, as for now, because, you're gonna have some people using the basketball court, skate park and everything like that in the playground. It would be, I think that to me, it'll be all right for now until you get your master plan and do other things, and then you can adjust it after that.
yeah, so you're saying leave the angled parking there for now?
I don't have any problem with it right now, but I think I need some parking in other areas.
Would it be advantageous to maybe take that entrance? Well, it's an in one way, out one way. Would you, we could bring that gravel drive down to the old bus loop.
I would like that better.
Where
to
you
keep-
don't have the
Mhm.
access, where
Right.
you're only coming in one way, but you're not coming out.
Right.
So
I
you're
would like that.
eliminating one trip.
Yeah, I would
to
like that better
access.
because, you can come around, drop off or stop, and then when you pull out, you're not pulling straight out.
So just,
On the main.
instead of pulling it out on leave the existing gravel entrance where it is now that serves the skate park.
Right.
Come in that way, come
Mhm.
down the gravel drive, and then maybe loop that around so it comes straight into the bus loop.
Right.
Instead of.
I like that better.
That's
But I'm
probably,
just one vote, but I like that better.
yeah.
I got a quick question.
Sure.
There's too many As and Bs and, well, only one B and C, but I see A over close to the kid building, but then over to your far right where we're talking about currently with the skateboard parking there, there's a B there. So is that
Yeah, these are all, A, B, and C are options, I guess. They're all different options. So the B would be over next to the building if we chose that option.
No, I'm talking about up where the skateboard park. What is that identified
I
as?
think he's looking at these
That
circle
was the
As and circle
original-
Bs.
Oh, that's the
identified.
original A and B, and
Yeah.
now we have some different As and Bs.
We'll
Okay.
call that AA, I guess.
Okay. So, So we're talking about doing some gravel parking close to the skateboard park and the basketball court.
Yes.
That's what we're talking about. And the rest of these renditions that you've done is, and I think Wayne's exactly right, that would come into play once we identify what the comprehensive plan will be for all of that.
It may be, or you could, there was some speak of just the worry of that exit. You could eliminate the other parking and go with A, B, or C too, if you wanted to, but you already have, I don't think there's a wrong answer here.
Well, we talked about doing some gravel parking there and then eventually, which all of this other comes into play on maybe blacktop and the parking
Yeah.
spots, A, B, C, or D, or whatever.
Well, at that point, we're into more of an engineering type of project. Once we kind of tune down what we want to do with the building, the use will dictate the number of parking
Yes.
spaces you need for that.
Right.
So then you have a more holistic design for your parking lot and you go from there. So,
So are you just looking for a consensus to continue on with the parking close to the skateboard park and the basketball court?
Bring it down here so it comes out here rather than.
Okay,
With that one modification to bring it out on the loop road, the old bus loop road.
okay.
And then obviously, you know what Mr. Williams talked about with the removal of those wells could free up that area too, which may be a later part of the overall plan. That infrastructure would have to be removed to take that parking on it, put that parking on it.
At one time, the state had some money for abandoning wells and stuff. Maybe we ought to look into that and see. We still
Yeah.
have some funding for that.
It does, there is a cost involved in abandoning them. You have to fill them in properly. So.
Okay, so,
But that would free up potential space because it's not necessary, from my understanding.
so what are you looking for and what do you need from us today?
I guess just a consensus that we go with this. I'll tune up this drawing to modify the exit from the side street going to the Polar Center and project it out to come into the loop road. That'll be the only modification.
Verify for everyone, it's this one right here that I'm highlighting. Except
Yeah.
for this exit will be, bear with me, will be like that, somewhat, something like
Somewhat,
that.
yeah.
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 I'm no engineer.
Okay.
But
So
so
it
that's
sounds
what
like
you're
that would-
moving.
Looks like that would probably give you some more parking spaces along that anyway, because you'd be
It could
lengthening it.
potentially, yeah, you might build, there's a tree right there that's gonna, we'd have to work around, but you could probably.
Should we go
select the
through the
parking
tree
spaces.
like one of those big redwoods?
Oh,
Could that be like part
fun.
of the park? I mean, I'm hearing
when
a
we-
park idea.
When we do the master plan, there's gonna be all kinds of pretty trees on
Yeah,
this map.
we
We're
could
gonna
go
have a
through
good
the
time on
tree.
it. We'll make it pretty.
Okay, board members, is there a consensus for Mr. Kretz to continue on with what he's doing and get that designed? Reggie, you good?
I like the one with the.
Yeah.
I like the parking over that side because you already have some parking area. The only thing that's in the way is the well. And see, the HRSD, they have a road that's already 8 inches of concrete, 8 inches of asphalt over the left-hand side. And this section here, the schools already have filled in something. If we move this well and open it up for parking spaces, then we don't have to worry about the road that, we've been complaining about, but putting a fencing up. Because if say we got a parking over there, and I guess we can put fencing up anyway. Then if we're gonna do fencing anyway, by design, it'll look pretty good if you got a straight white fence running down the side. But I just like the parking over by the kid building, I guess, maybe do a sidewalk to walk in. But I just like to see the well, that's one thing, I didn't know a well, I thought it was just a pumping thing somewhere, to move that. Cause the don't is just gonna look like something that's grown up in the area. We just can't keep on adding over here and just leaving stuff in the way and that's just my opinion, I'm gonna go along with, the found thing, because once again, if you're gonna run that road straight down to the bus loop, you're saying?
Yes, yes.
So that means you gotta run fence straight down the whole to the bus loop too.
Well, that's a decision.
But I mean, that's what they were saying as far as safety.
Yeah.
They were saying safety, that'd be, they can't slow down too much to come out there, so they come out there wide open, so we need a fence, so the kids don't run it in the road. So, hey man, just keep on drawing it, but I still in favor of over by the kid building, probably with a sidewalk or something going to the playground. And staying out of the way of the old, the old school building, old cafeteria, because once we decide to do something with that, that'll change. And once we talk about a master plan, I don't know what we ever think, but a master plan right now. I'm not, I don't get it. I think we stay to the side, make what we look real nice right now and let the master plan happen whenever we need the master plan, because we don't know what it's gonna be. We have no ideas, nobody helping with it. So when I say master plan, you just telling me you're putting stuff off. And I'm just looking for a parking area for the ones that go to skating rink or the kid playground. I noticed they'll come in there pretty good, when on the court. So I just like the one over the other side,
How many spots are there total that you have drawn in here?
About 10, I think, with a handicap spot.
About?
About approximately 10.
Well, no, I guess what I'm saying is the cafetorium there, eventually we're going to do something. We say the wow factor. It's going to be, we're going to do something
Right.
really great with that building. And it's going to shine throughout the community, and we're going to need parking. And we need to keep that in our mind that eventually, I'm saying, we'll probably need 100 parking spots with some events that may happen there and stuff.
It could be possible, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. And also to that point, I guess, going forward, we would have some time to investigate abandonment of, get that package together. What do we need to do to get rid of that infrastructure right there? That may need some investigation as well. So obviously, possibly some cost involved.
Okay, Mr. Kretz, you have a consensus of the board to continue to move forward and gather some prices and whatever design that y'all think will fit best of what we're doing.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
All righty. Let's see. Airport updates, Richard Lewis.
I think we'll talk about the easy stuff first. As everybody knows, we're building a new terminal building out at the airport. And when I went to the airport DOAB meeting back in August, one of the things they brought up was security at the airport. It was brought on by an incident at Virginia Highlands Airport last year, where an individual made it out onto the tarmac, got into a King Air, and was proceeding to fire the thing up when he was contacted. He eventually left and was apprehended later on down the road. But in the debrief that they had between law enforcement and the airport authority and the DOAV was, they found out that their policies weren't really up to snuff, and they didn't have a good plan of action of how things, what you would do in that case. So the state revitalized a program called the Secure Airport Program. And we have been designated a secure airport because we have filled out the proper paperwork. We've got a draft master plan, a security plan coming up, and we're going to update that plan. We do an independent security audit that has been done by Virginia State Police. We do every 6 months, I do a in-house security audit and turn that over to the state. And what that does for us, it allows us to have 90% funding for security related matters at the airport. These grants do not have to go before the Virginia Aviation Board. They're treated like maintenance projects. So one of the things that we were talking about between the department and myself was security cameras and access control for the new terminal building. We've got a new terminal building coming in. Now's a good time to start thinking about how we're going to maintain security at the airport and access control systems for the new terminal. So working with Kevin, we went to the contract we've got working at the jail, who's doing the security systems out there, and they came out and did a survey on the airport, and they came back with a bid of $69,228. So right now, this is really information, because later on, we're going to start talking about exactly what's going to go into that and when the right time to go put that system into the airport. The state has already said that they will approve that grant when the time comes. Any questions?
I don't think so.
Okay.
What else you got for us?
Well, now we get back into the meat of everything. We have 6 items for modifications to the PPT agreement. I can run through them real quick and then we'll discuss them in detail. Septic system at the airport, 3-phase power at the airport, moving the parking lot construction from one PPT agreement to a second PPT agreement. Install taxiway lights on the for the taxiway, install tie-down anchors on the for aircraft on the tie-down area, and abandon the current 100-amp power supply at the airport and bring the 3-phase power and the increased system to run back to the fuel farm and the lighting and everything in the beacon will be staying in place. The easy part right now is currently the 100-amp service we have, we're at max on that. That's barely hanging on right now. We've got an open neutral right now that has caused, as I know right now, the automated weather system is offline because of an open neutral. We surmise that has also caused the power lines to the approach path indicator lights to burn up because the approach path indicator lights on the south end of the airport are out of service now. I've had a number of pilots talk to me about the automated weather service. They're really a crucial piece of equipment that we have to get prepared. The state has already funded 90% to have the electrician and Austin Electric come in and take a look at that and tell us exactly what needs to happen. That may be just as simple as a loose wire, but they're also coming in and take a look at the approach path lighting. But that's talking about what's going on right now. What we're proposing is abandoning that, bringing all the power to the main terminal building and then trenching out from the main terminal building, going back to the fuel farm and the beacon over there. 3-phase power right now comes within 200 feet of the airport property. So that now's a good time to bring it in, bring 3-phase power. The state's very, very supportive of bringing 3-phase power in. That last year there was a separate grant to bring 3-phase power into the airport. We did not apply for that.
Can I ask you a question about?
You start, Ken.
You're talking about bringing in 3-phase power. Are we gonna have to change the pumps and stuff at the fuel farm and so forth?
No, because we'll only run one phase back over that to do that. And if we do have to do that later on, we're talking about refurb of the fuel farm anyway, because the fuel farm is long past its useful life.
Thank you.
The tie down area. I have yet to go to an airport where the tie down area doesn't have anchors for the aircraft to tie down to. Any wind event will come along and we'll flip an airplane over in a hot second. I think it was an oversight when the original plans were brought up and it just missed. Did not put anchors down. Same with taxiway lights. I've landed at the airport at night and it's just a dark hole trying to figure out where to turn off to get to the terminal building and back to the hangars. It's a safety issue. Bottom line. Mark will talk about moving the parking lot section. Septic system replacement. For whatever reason, that was not included in the original plans. I've known, well, way back when I was just a customer and a tenant at the airport, I was told, don't flush the toilet too many times because the septic system is on its last legs. I'll tell you right now, you go out there in front of the hangars, there's a big puddle of standing water. You know, I'm not a soil engineer and I can't tell you the septic system's failed, but it sure looks like it to me. Mark, do you want to?
Welcome, Mr. Flynn.
Good afternoon. So, yeah, on the septic system, the question is when it was, when we knew that was an issue, but it doesn't really matter. If we had known at the beginning, it should have been a part of the original contract. It's not like, oh, we're just paying for something new. It has to be done if we're gonna build a terminal. And then the three-phase is, of course, a county request. That's not it's not something that Delcorp is looking for. And the new electric to the beacon and to the fuel farm. The Department of Aviation may not fund all of that, like, because the part of the wiring that runs to a revenue producing facility, the fuel farm, they say we don't pay for revenue producing stuff.
They normally
But
pay
it's-
67%.
Yeah, so but it's not too many dollars. So here are the amendments. It's the septic system, three-phase power, electric service. And then there's a new one that was not in that memo because it only came up yesterday. The memo that I think that the board you all got. And that is that the way the airport layout plan has the new taxiway, it's really nice. It works very well. And it has 3 access points on that taxiway out to the runway. So it's going to be a lot safer. But to run the taxiway lights out on the edges, they have to be like 10 feet off the edge of the taxiway. And that turns out that's actually on Oscar's property. Oscar, and so we'll have an amendment for the county to accept it's going to be about 30 feet, I think yeah, 30 feet that he will convey back to the county. No money will exchange hands on that, but we'll need that to amend the agreement to accept that transfer. And then, of course, the last one is it's $79,000 increase for the parking lot for the terminal. And I'll let Oscar explain, if you don't mind, how that comes about, why we have that.
I got a couple questions before we get to that. You listed the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items that are not currently in the contract. That lists 71,235. Is that the number we're talking about?
It's actually, it all depends on how much, some of this is going to vary with how much, I have it here, thank you, how much the state will actually reimburse. Like I say, part of the wiring, they may not, that kind of thing. But the total share, the total local share, that is what the state's not going to pay for, is $23,200. The county's half then would be $11,600 for those additional items.
Those 5 items.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So that's, yeah.
Mark, can you say those numbers again? Sorry, I was writing.
Oh,
them down.
sure. It's the total local share is $23,206. And then that means the county's share, half of that, is 11,603. And it's nice to have, I mean, it has $603.29. It ain't going to be that exact amount, okay? There's going to be back and forth with the state. They're going to look at some item and say, we're not going to pay for those nails, that kind of thing. But that's real close ballpark.
So
If you.
one question.
Yes, sir.
So you're saying the 5 things that you asking for, that we asking for, cause
Well, yes, the part that Oscar will be looking for to get paid for, and it's going to start at 90% state, we're pretty sure, is the $79,235 for the parking lot, $53,332 for the septic system. 3-phase power is right at $80,000. And then running that electric service to the beacon and the fuel farm, 19.5. But again, we submit all that for reimbursement. The state will reimburse probably, we think, 90%. And then that means that the checks that the county will end up having to write on that will be $11,603 in that ballpark. Again, it's going to vary a little bit.
Under a 90-10 split with the state.
Yes, sir.
And
And we're on good track. I'm sorry, go ahead.
What's the target date for when that decision will know exactly what that is?
We won't know the exact dollar amounts until, so the aviation board meets May 21st. And this project, we're in good shape for getting that project in and all the stuff in. And then they'll make a decision, yes, we accept this project. Then Oscar bills all this stuff and we submit the bills. And you know, they'll bureaucratically noodle over every line item. And they'll have some little things probably end up, it'll make Richard's life miserable for a little bit, you know, explaining why this is that, that is this. And they'll end up cutting checks, then it's gonna be really after the work is done. So, so we won't know the down to the penny dollar amount for a good while, because we gotta do the ramp, all, you know, all the work.
So work is gonna start prior to, the state saying, yes, we will fund 90% of the project.
No, sir, we are fairly certain that on May 21st, the aviation board, the state aviation board will say, we are funding 90% of these two projects, terminal, ramp, taxiways. Yes.
But the work will start prior to that.
No, until there's on their rules are until on construction, until there is an approved project, any work you do prior to that, they won't pay for.
Okay?
Um,
And we won't either, just so you know.
Right. And Oscar, you know, Oscar understands that. I mean, it's all. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, got you. Okay,
But
All
as
right.
far, yeah. So in any event, if the board decides to approve these amendments, we would ask for, I don't know, Heather, if you want to do a motion or a resolution, just a motion.
A motion's
A
fine.
motion to approve the amendments and to authorize and direct the county administrator to execute all documents necessary to that end. I'll draft up the amendments, send it to Heather for review, and then on from there.
So the project now, if my math is correct or your math is correct, we were at 1,502,000. Now we're gonna be 1,732,000.
Yes, sir, 734, 284, which means that all things being equal, if it works out, the county's share for all of that is $86,714.
Right.
Again, it's going to be slightly different, up or down a little bit, but not much.
I'll hold you to that.
Well, that's.
Excuse me, ever since we started this project, it's been 80% or 90%. Has the state committed to any portion of the project that we're going to get 90%?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, again, the projects, the terminal, they actually approved last August. But for the whole project, really, on May 21st, we're very confident that the Virginia Aviation Board will approve these projects, and everything they're doing at the May meeting is 90% funding. That's one of the things we've really been working hard to do, is to get it done for the May meeting, because their next meeting is next fiscal year, and that's 80%. So it's critical for the county and you know, to get this done and get it approved at the May meeting. Yeah.
And that was one of the things we did with the secure airport. That one of the benefits for that program is we get 15 points extra on the scoring for CIP projects.
Okay. But that's not included in any of this that we're talking about now.
The secure airport.
Oh, no, we're already there. We're already at the secure airport. That started off with the security plan and the audits that we did. So when we go before the May board meeting, we will have that 15-point bonus.
Okay.
And the point of that is that the Department of Aviation scores every applicant, every airport that comes in based on, you know, a bunch of criteria, and one is doing the security program, which helps.
Wonderful.
But yeah.
Okay, so County Attorney, Ms. Lewis, would you like to help us with the motion we need to add this?
I'm gonna Yes, sir. And I'm gonna phone a friend, Mr. Flynn.
Yes.
If you could give them that language one more time, please.
Yes, that,
Thank you.
so the motion would be to approve the 5 amendments to the comprehensive agreement with Delcor, and to authorize and direct the county administrator to execute all documents necessary to carry it out.
I so move.
So moved by Mr. Jesse,
Second.
second by Mr. Williams. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Jesse,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Crittenden,
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris.
Yes, the motion is approved. Thank you, sir. Thank you both for being here today. Yes, you can.
Oscar,
Yes,
can
sir.
you, Oscar, can you come to the podium, please, just so we can pick it up for the recording? Thank you. And Matt
What is-
can't hear you. He's in
Okay.
the Zoom.
I'm Oscar Barber, Hartfield, and the term, I meant the ramp and the taxiways, and we had the discussion yesterday. So they won't approve they won't pay for the 30-foot, so we got to drop it back to 25-foot wide. They also will not approve the full length of it. So I've taken off, what was it, 800, 900 feet? And I've decreased the schedule of values or the quote by the amount of the square footage, so it has been decreased. So I still want 30 feet, but we're gonna talk about that later on. But right now, they'll only do 25 feet. And I'm gonna do a property line adjustment and move my property line back away from the county by about 20 feet. And that'll give you enough room. They'll give us enough room to do a 30-foot wide taxiway, and it'll also give enough room to put the lights down beside it. So, what else was I gonna tell them? It was just information, so that you know that the taxiway and ramp, they're not gonna approve that whole thing. So
Okay.
I've backed it off already.
Okay,
And I will say, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, please.
Regarding all of that, one of the staff members of the Department of Aviation had sent a letter, it got Matt Walker's attention very much. Yesterday I met with, I had a phone call with the folks at the department, and I know you met with them too. And we got them to resolve all of their issues. So all that got taken care of.
good,
Yeah.
good. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, citizens appointment, Ms. Riccardi. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait a minute, I sure did. Who made the motion? Who made the, huh? That's gone. All right, what? Hold on. Mine is a little different than yours. Okay. Historic Courthouse Committee Representative, I think Ms. South is here. Come.
Myself.
Would you like me to? I'll pass that out for you.
Do you all are saying the short courthouse committee report? Is
Yes,
that what I heard?
yes.
Larry, are you doing it?
No, you're doing it, Ms. South.
To the display case. Did you come?
Well, that's part of it.
Okay.
That's,
All right, well then. Okay, all right, then y'all bear with me. Okay,
no, we're fine.
is it okay?
Yes.
All right, I'm Marilyn South, president of the Middlesex County Museum. And on the agenda further down, it mentions the display case and Holly Horton. Holly is teaching a class, and the display case is, and thank you all for building it. is the big item Historic Courthouse Committee has been working for a year and a half.
And yes, and let me just add to it very quickly. The Historic Courthouse Committee needed to approve what's going in downstairs. And once you approved it, you're back now, and we had the final say on approving what you guys think should be in that case. The Historic Committee, has approved, and and this is their recommendation. Go ahead, Ms. South.
Okay. So I've outlined here for you with Holly's obvious support. And it is Revolutionary War soldiers. There's 10 of them. These all Holly can verify through their pension records. So these are not just some arbitrary soldiers. These are pension records. The commonality is on each of these pension records, they list the place of birth as Middlesex County. Now, they served in different time periods, different battles. And in doing the display case, Holly can think of the stories of each soldier. She can do silhouettes. She can do artifacts from the time period. Whatever photographs would be appropriate, could be a battle scene, that kind of thing. And I think the future display, kickoff from this, if you all agree, is in Holly's research. She has found we had some high-ranking officers in the Revolutionary War. So there's a lot to be proud of from men from this county who served in the Revolutionary War, both Black and white. So do you all have any questions? Do you want to read it completely? Any thoughts?
And it's to be determined how often or what the next exhibit may or may not be, and how long this exhibit will stay downstairs. But that's part of our MOU. The Historical Committee comes to us with what they want to put in there, and then the Board of Supervisors says yay or nay, or what change needs to take place.
And then I would ask that Holly thinks she can pull it together, if you all approve this, roughly 6 weeks. So then, do you want us to come back with an actual final drawing or sketch of the exhibit and what she's going to put in it? You know, each step we have to take prolongs things.
I will say on behalf of me, and I sat on that committee, it's some very knowledgeable people on that committee, and has a lot of ability for history in the county. And I would just say to my fellow board members that the committee works very well together and well thinks out what needs to be in there. No, if we approve this today, y'all need to run with it and get it going.
Okay,
Does that satisfy you?
we'd love it.
Okay. Any further questions to Ms. South? I think it's going to look really cool when it, and over
Sure.
time, changing the view and what we're trying to highlight.
Well, the interesting thing that happens too, when we put up different exhibits and public sees them, is they start coming forth with additional things and information. And so our repertoire, what we have, becomes bigger and bigger. So thank you all.
Okay. Any other questions from Ms. South?
No, but we gotta make a motion.
Then a motion would be in order,
I'll make a
sir.
motion that we approve the Revolutionary War soldiers for Middlesex on the road of freedom by the committee.
Motion made by Mr. Jesse.
A second.
Second by Mr. Crittenden. Any further discussion? Seeing none, hearing none.
I got
Oh,
a few
sorry.
things to say.
Go ahead.
We're talking about the Revolutionary War, and from a teaching standpoint, we bring in kids and stuff to look at it and understanding where people serving in the war. But also on the display, is there anything about the Revolutionary War itself, and people that served on from Middlesex and surrounding counties? Or we just put names with a little bit of
Oh,
writing
no,
underneath it?
no. It, Holly can do maps, graphic maps. She can have a puzzle that the children can take a handout from the exhibit to work with at home. It will be the journey that each soldier took from home to the battle scene and back. How many of them fought in the same battles, didn't fight in the same battles, and make a very interesting map. And that's one thing Holly has thought about doing. So I don't know, Reggie, does that answer?
It's sort of, I just want to make sure that, you know, you talk about the war and the gentlemen that served in the war and what they've done. I don't want to lose the war, but, you know, the people's in it. You know, you look at a display and you say, well, this happened to be, you know, William Kidd, you know, and that's all, the Revolutionary War. I don't think you should lose sight of the reason that they're on here. You know, even if they're on display, you look at it and read little things, and, you know, if we don't teach it, you know, you forget it. And I don't want them to just learn names and don't learn the reason that they was in the war, you know, and the things that they done. That's the part I would like not to get lost.
And it won't be.
Okay.
That is the significance of that soldier having done what he did and what we have gained from that. That's a very important part of it.
Any further questions? Seeing none, hearing none, roll call, please, on the motion.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Crittenden,
Yes.
Mr. Jesse.
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris.
Yes, motion's approved.
Thank you all.
We'll be excitingly waiting to see what ends up in the case.
Okay.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Okay. I think we're back at regular agenda items.
5B.
Why is that?
You got probably got too many of them.
I got too many daggone papers here.
got too many.
Yeah, because that's not on this one.
Front
Oh,
page of the book.
no, this was front page.
That is the front page. Well, why you got one different than us?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what I got. Oh, no, I didn't. My bad. Okay, here we go. Port Authority, MOU approval, Heather Lewis.
Yes, sir. So if in your board packet, and Matt is online, and so I am going to ask him to speak as well. Actually, Matt, would you like to intro it, or did you have anything you wanted to add before I go over the MOU?
No, I just want to commend Dave Kretz and Louis Lawrence for their just sterling work on this. Heather had my document. I think documents pretty well done, and I think with Heather edits, it's ready to go.
Thank you, Matt.
And that's page 66, board members.
Yes. So as the board will recall, as part of the Broad Creek Emergency Dredging Project, Louis Lawrence has applied on our behalf to the Port of Virginia Waterway Maintenance Fund Grant Program. My understanding from speaking with Louis is that this is essentially like an emergency grant. We kind of, he says there's only been 2 issued and we're wanting the second one. So this is for 2.3 million approximately from the Port Authority for us to do the dredging at Broad Creek. And they have the same, this is their MOU. It's pretty much the same form they have for all their projects, even if it is an emergency funding, which I have reviewed. And I did have 2 minor changes, which I'll be happy to go over if the board has any questions. It's my understanding that the Port Authority is in agreement with my 2 minor changes and will be signing off on it. I haven't received that yet, but it's my understanding that they didn't have any comment other than they were trying to get the director to sign. So with that, we're seeking approval or an authorization for Matt, do you sign this or does the chairman? It just says
I'm comfortable signing it, or the chairman can. I don't know if they have a preference on who signs.
okay. So with that, staff is seeking authorization for the county administrator to execute this MOU with the Port Authority, please. So we can receive our funding. It's a reimbursement.
I so move on that
Thank you.
information.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Jesse, second by Bill Harris.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yes,
Discussion?
I have one. You said there's only been two of these issued.
For
Is that
this-
because this is a new program or it's only been issued twice in the last 20 years?
This is for emergency. So yes, according to Louis Lawrence, that's who I represented that to us in multiple meetings I sat in. The Port Authority has granted us money in the past for just regular dredging, and they do that regularly. But this was, we kind of cut the line essentially. You know, this was an emergency dredging, and so we requested emergency funding. And Mr. Lawrence represented that that's only happened twice. And we're the second case.
And I
Yes, sir.
think, I think it also moved the project along quicker
Mhm.
for it to be an emergency dredge.
Yep.
When we started talking about it back months ago.
Yep. Oh, go ahead.
I think it,
Matt's right.
it was stressed to me that it's not an emergency dredge per se. It's a regular dredge through the regular process. However, the funding was given to us on an emergency basis. Correct.
Maybe expedite is the word to use, but although I know that's it still hasn't moved as quickly as we would have liked, but through the bureaucratic process, it's been expedited. I guess is the better way to say that. I know Matt's trying to weigh in too.
Well, first of all, thank you, Randy, because that was part of what I was going to say. And I was going to remind the board that when Louis and I were working on that back before Christmas, the Port Authority's one concern was that, was the project shovel ready? And of course it was. We had to design and all of that was completed. And two, could the county fund the work and then be reimbursed for it in July? And I told Louis, yes, we could do that. So that kind of stresses the nature of the funding. They wanted to make sure it was shovel ready, that they weren't going to be waiting for a year and a half for permits to move forward with a project, and that the county could fund it and then be reimbursed on the back end. That was all. Thanks.
I read something that, we have $1 million set aside, and I think Matt has told us it resets every year, so forth and so on. And now it looks like we've spent $400 and some thousand out of that $1 million. So we, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like we've spent $400 and some thousand of Middlesex County citizens' money on this project before we even got the grant. Is that right?
I apologize for the dumbfound look, but that is that's not my bailiwick. I'm going to defer to Matt and Anne Marie, and I just can't answer that for you, Mr. Harris. But I know they can. They've been looking into it.
Yeah, I think Anne Marie has the breakdown, Bill. We had 225,000 we spent towards Broad Creek. There was 100 and something thousand we spent on the Whitings Creek, and this was part of the planning and the grant that Louis and Kurt were working on for those creeks. And I think there was something else on there for the PDC to administer the projects. But I think Anne Marie has a breakdown.
I did not bring the breakdown, as I did not know that was going to be asked today. I do know we spent $170,000 on Seaward, which, I did give it to you.
I printed it out.
Oh, you know what? I'll pass over.
Well, how about you just, could you just read it, please? Because we're at a public forum. It would be.
Yeah, so out of the $1 million dredge fund encumbered is Broad Creek Phase 1 dredging project design, $395,614. Broad Creek jetty design, $450,000. And the Whiting Creek Phase 1 dredging, $104,312 for a total of $949. I'm sorry, not 900,000, 949, 926, $926. Almost $1 million.
That would have been from last year, I think. So what he's repeating, I think, is from Louis, right?
Are you talking about Louis?
Yeah, that's from Louis'
Piece of the PSDC? I don't have that, I don't believe. But I
'Cause that's
believe
not
that
that's not
contract
from
was
me.
for 100. Was that for the design? Was that for $170,000? Matt, does that sound familiar?
170 was the C-word contract.
Seaward,
With the
Seaward
their first
contract,
C-word
yes.
contract, yep.
Okay, we got a grant roughly for 2.3 million. And then we have spent X number of dollars of Middlesex citizens' money on this project. So that figure is what I would like to know. Well, we know the $2.3 million grant. How much out of that dredge fund have we spent of the $1 million on this project? I think that's what we need to know.
And I don't want to be quoted on this yet, but I would imagine maybe some of those upfront fees would be reimbursable.
That's where we're, yeah.
The
Okay. Now we
design-
see where we're heading.
The design and whatnot are reimbursable. under
Because
that
if we spent
grant.
$500,000 of the Middlesex citizens' money,
Yeah,
they definitely want to know how much of that we're getting back in the kitty. We understand that when the project's over, that we would be reimbursed, I think, July 1st. But the money that Middlesex County citizens have already spent, we're really interested to know how much of that we're getting back.
And I was gonna say, Dave's sitting in my seat. He's picking up on the vibe because I was reading exactly where you were going with that, Bill. We've already got that question posed. I think Louis can be looking into that on our behalf for the parties too, once we have a good idea of what that is. I was referencing the number Anne Marie provided us yesterday, Dave.
okay. Which I don't have.
Right, and that's where I came up with, again, knowing what I remembered was the 170,000. So there were a total of 3 items, as he mentioned, PDC, and the C-word. One was for the Whiting Creek, one was for the Broad Creek, and one was for the C-word contract. So I do have that broken out, and I apologize. I was trying to find it on my emails because I emailed it out.
That's
and I
fine. We
can't
have
find it.
time, but I just, that's a question that is going to be asked, and that's a
Great
answer
question,
we need to be
too.
prepared to give. And we want more of that money returned to the citizens.
As much as possible.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Any further questions? If not, a motion would be in order to approve the MOU for the Port Authority.
We have a first by Wayne and a second by Bill. And so now we need roll call, please.
Oh, fine, thank you.
Yeah,
Roll
that's what
call.
I wrote down unless Ms.
Yeah.
Hammond, am I wrong?
Okay.
That's what I have.
Roll call.
I know I'm congested, but I thought I heard that.
Mr. Bill Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Crittenden,
Yes.
Mr. Jesse,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris.
Yes, motion's approved for the Port Authority MOU approval. Moving right along, budget supplement request, grant application, body cameras. What? What? Oh, I'm sorry, Deltaville Community Association request for waiver permit fee. Anne Marie.
I'm bringing forth to you a letter that was presented to our office requesting a refund of the $131 permit fee that they paid, the DCA paid for the construction of a pickleball court pavilion.
Page 71. Any discussions? Seeing none, hearing none, a motion would be in order to approve that $131 fee.
I move that we waive that fee, Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
Technically, it's a reimbursement because they did pay it.
Reimburse, I
Yeah.
apologize.
Second.
motion made by Randy Crittenden, seconded by Bill Harris. Any further discussion?
Yes. Have we done this before for other organizations? I just want to make sure,
We
so
have.
everybody know. All right, okay.
We have.
I'm just, for the record, that's all.
All right. No other questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Crittenden,
Yes.
Mr. Jesse,
Yes.
Mr. Williams, Mr. Bill Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris.
Yes. Motion approved for the Deltaville Community Association reimbursement for what they paid on that. Okay? Everybody good? Moving right along. Budget supplement request, FY 2025-25 grant application, body cameras, Anne Marie.
Sure. This item in front of you today is related to the purchase of 16 body cameras and the required maintenance on them. I put this on the agenda because action needs to be taken by March 31st in order to utilize a $20,000 grant that was approved back in June, back in June. So it expires March 31st, 2025. The reason why board action is needed is that the cameras required county funding. If it was simply a $20,000 grant, we could buy them, we'd be good to go. But they required a $7,000 grant match, and then it requires a certain amount of cloud storage. So the total amount of the body cameras with maintenance is $45,552. The federal grant was $20,490. So the supplemental funding was needed $25,062. So there, I don't know where you are with this particular project, and purchasing it now might be too soon, which is why I'm really slowing down on this. I'm not sure where the board wanted to go, but I did need to bring forth this before March 31st. So either we said, let's wait until we have the people on staff. Let's go ahead and use the grant up while we can. It's pretty much either choice has consequences. How about that? Either choice has consequences. If you choose to approve this budget request and let's go ahead and purchase these cameras, that's option one, or don't approve this and we wait and make the decision at a later date, but you lose the $20,000 grant. Did I say that right? Did I give you guys enough information? I hope. Okay.
We do not have people in place though to be able to utilize the cameras at this time. That's my understanding. Is that?
That's what I understood as well, but I'm not speaking for the sheriff's office.
If we did, approve this, the 3-year maintenance agreement, would that start immediately or could that be deferred until we actually start using them?
The way it was explained to me, and again, I can't give anything, was that you get 3 months free and then you start the maintenance service. So the 3 months kicks off immediately and then you're at the 3 months then maintenance kicks in.
And I talked to the sheriff's office today, and it does in fact start when we purchase the cameras. So the problematic part of that is, number one, there's nobody in place for that 3-month period of training that they will do for those cameras. If you decide to approve that today for the purchase, chances are that we're going to be finished the 3 months before any type of training would be able to done on their dime.
Right. And I'm sure you all realize, I thought of this as well, and that is that cameras sitting on the shelf unused. That's, until you're just gonna have cameras sitting on the shelf for 3 months, maybe 6 months till we're able to start using them. Technology may not go bad, but it does get better. So if you waited to purchase until that's another option, is sitting in the back of, I've been thinking this, as you probably have been as well. What's the best way to do this? There's just choices have consequences, but if you don't approve it today or this month, we'll lose the grant. Does that mean there'll be another grant? Don't know. So that's the other option, is we'll get another grant.
Well, Mr. Chairman, my question is, when are they going to set up body cams? I mean, been talking about it a long time before some of these members be even on board. And it's been a need for them to do that, but it's all in on, when is the sheriff going to be in the office to start training these people for the body cam? You gotta have a starting date or some vision of when you're going to start. And I can't answer that, but I was just wondering, if you get the grant money, and maybe something about this, I don't know, but I need to know something, because this is not the first time body cams came up.
Right.
And something needs to be done, because I've been saying, you keep everybody secure and safe on both sides if anything go down. And then
I agree. I think that the situation of the problem is that my understanding is that we're going to have to hire 2 more additional full-time people to do this job. And one has to be a lawyer. And the other is going to be a sheriff's department employee. The jobs can't be combined. So you're talking about 2 additional full-time employees to be able to use these body cams. So that's something that we would have to figure into our discussion if we're going to be, if we're ready to to authorize the Commonwealth Attorney to hire another employee. And then if we want to authorize the sheriff to hire another employee, then that's going to be, it's going to be a significant amount of money, particularly since one of them's going to have to be a trained lawyer. So I think that it certainly needs to be something that if we are going to do that, this action, this approving these cameras should be combined with that, because this is actually almost an insignificant cost in relation to what we're going to be signing ourselves onto. We're talking about something that's going to be easily, I think, with benefits and everything, maybe a couple $100,000 a year that we're going to be putting into this. So, so that's all I have to say on it.
And I'll cloud the issue even more. In talking to the sheriff's department, the state police do not have body cameras. They have car cameras. And there was some discussion I had with them. I don't have any costs that I can share with you, but there was some discussion that maybe their opinion was individual body cams versus camera cams would be less than what we're looking at now. So that, you know, that's another wrinkle in the process. And I don't know, that's all I got to say about that, unless you guys, anybody else have any comments or discussion?
I mean, to me, it's like we're adding 2 assistant Commonwealth attorneys in a year. For a county of 10,000 people. This, I'm not saying the laws don't say we don't have to do it, but that just raises seems a lot.
I also got the opinion, of course, you never know, that grant may be available or may not. But the sheriff's department also said they thought there would be a money available. You never know, but they felt like there would be grant opportunities later for that. And it puts us in a bad spot in that we got a 30-day, actually less than 30 days, a 25, 6-day time frame to decide that, and we have multiple variables that we're not quite sure about at this point. We can buy them and hold them, though. And then when other personnel is available or we hire somebody for that, I think the sheriff is looking at one of his dispatchers of one of the hirees for his office to do this. But there are some unknowns here, and, you know, we need to decide what direction you want to go.
Matt, I'd like to hear something from you. Mighty quiet.
Oh, I was getting ready to text Heather to ask her to elbow you to ask me because I don't want to talk over anybody. I think, thanks, Wayne. I think Anne-Marie did a pretty good job giving you the basics of this thing. You know, Mickey Sampson and David Bushy were very successful in getting this $20,000 grant. It does expire at the end of the month if we don't act on it. I had a brief conversation with the sheriff and Major Sampson as well. I think as many of the other board members apparently have. And while they can't guarantee we would get another grant, once the current environment kind of thaws a little bit and the grants start flowing again, that's probably a likely one that would be on the street. It's kind of like, do you want to go ahead with this grant, buy them and put them on a shelf and then kind of scramble to train somebody? Or do you want to just let this $20,000 grant go and hope Mickey, David, and maybe we can even chip in and try to help them find another grant? Maybe we have another grant available by July 1 or something that could take effect July 1 when you know a little bit more and you have a little bit more focus on what's in the final budget. Thank you.
Matt, if this wasn't approved today, isn't this one of those cases that where a 2-year budget, we'd be able to lay things out? Because we have a lot of concerned citizens that want this. And I think as Wayne said, it's been going along for a long time. We've talked about the 2-year budget, and I think it's another one of those cases, if we had the 2-year budget, that at least if we didn't do it now, the citizens could see that it's it's in the budget. When we start doing a 2-year budget, it's in the next year budget. I'm not saying we shouldn't do it now, but I'm saying I think the 2-year is another plug for a 2-year budget, basically.
Yeah, there you go. I like those shameless plugs because I'm really getting into the idea of the 2-year budget too. And it would be an example. We, I think, approved a grant last year during the budget process, but then in anticipation that we would have the ability to move forward. I'll tell you, and just my gut sense is we're going to have body cameras of some form or the other soon. It's just a question of timing. And I would feel a lot worse about the possibility of foregoing this grant if it was for like $100,000, but it's a $20,000 grant. Almost go to some people in our community and they could strike a check for that, a locally funded grant, but I may be talking too much on that front. So, I mean, I think it's 6 one way, half dozen the other, gentlemen. If you want to pursue this or fulfill this grant, then approve the motion or approve a motion to do the appropriation so we can move forward with buying the body cameras, or just not approve that motion and then ask the sheriff and staff, Major Mickey Sampson, to keep their eyes on a swivel and find us another grant for another body camera or body cameras, dash cameras, however they decide they want to go, after July 1. And I guess, finish by reminding the board, we have Claire on board at the PDC to help keep her eyes on the federal grant wire. So if there's grants that come down the pike, she's looking all the time to help our communities secure the grants they need. So I guess that's what I'd have to add. Thank you.
Okay. So the question to you, board members, is do we approve this request now, or do we wait and push it to a later date? Do we have to vote on this request particularly today? Can we table it?
I was going to say yes, sir, you need to take some form of action, whether that's table it, approve it, modify it, something. At least that's what we're asking.
Yeah, I know. I know. That's the bad part about the deal. Huh?
Can we table it with a suspense date? We would have to readdress it.
Sure, if you have another meeting scheduled, I mean.
We have a budget meeting scheduled for March 18th.
There you go. Need to announce it to the media.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Okay, do we need a motion for that?
So I want to make sure I understand, and also so Matt can hear. So it sounds like the board wishes to discuss this at the March 18th. Is that the next meeting, Ms. Hammond? You have a work session. At what time is that? Is it on our agenda? Looks like 9 a.m. Yes, I would ask for a motion to table it for discussion at the board's March 19th work session at 9 a.m.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Motion made to table this discussion for the March 18th meeting. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Williams. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Jesse,
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Bill Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Crittenden,
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris.
Yes, motion's approved. We'll discuss this again on the 18th. Okay. Item E. Citizens appointments. Anne Marie Riccardi.
starting on page 78, we have one vacancy back in the Economic Development Authority. This is because Wayne Savage, who you approved previously, discovered that they changed the meeting times from daytime to nighttime and was unable to fulfill his commitment as an EDA board member. Ergo, we are here again to, Wayne Savage. We are here again to fill a vacancy for the EDA, as well as reappoint Kendall Weber to the Planning District Commission, PDC. So at this point, you've got Anton Weber and Christine Branch to be to be considered for appointment to the EDA.
And just for the board, Mr. Funkhauser, the EDA's executive director, is present. Always want to give a shout out. So if anybody has any questions or comments, he's here as well. I like to keep him on the spotlight with us.
And then we have a reappointment for Kendall Weber to the Planning District Commission. So we're looking for 2 spots, correct?
I think we've had discussion before that before we appoint people to the boards, that one of the board of supervisors or committee recommendation or something, we need something from them. Because I think we may have had a case where none of us knew an individual. I have met with Anton Weber, and it seems like he'd be great on any kind of board or anything else that the county would do. I think he'd serve the county well. So I can vouch for him because I have met with him, I think it was a few months ago. And
I also think that Mr. Weber would be a good addition, and another. I think it would be very important and beneficial to the EDA and to the county as a whole to have someone who is associated with the marinas to be on the EDA, because what the EDA does has a lot to do with economic development, has a lot to do with the marinas and vice versa. So I think I would encourage the board to lean towards Mr. Weber. I don't know Christine Branch, appears to be well qualified, but I would speak on behalf of Mr. Weber.
Would you like to make a motion to that effect?
Yes, I move that we would appoint Anton Weber to the EDA.
second,
Motion made by Randy Crittenden for Mr. Anton Weber to be appointed to the EDA, second by Mr. Bill Harris. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Harris.
yes.
Mr. Crittenden,
Yes.
Mr. Jesse,
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris.
Yes, motion's approved for adding Anton Weber to the EDA, and I assume staff will make a phone call to that effect.
And also like to make a motion that we reappoint Kendall Weber for the Planning District Commission.
Okay, and now a motion for reappointment of the Planning District Commission, Kendall Weber.
Second.
Motion made by Wayne Jesse, seconded by Mr. Crittenden. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Bill Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Crittenden,
Yes.
Mr. Jesse.
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris.
Yes, motion's approved. All righty, where are we here? Administrative updates, cigarette tax report is on page 85. Staff reports on page 86 to 89. And C, board's policy and procedure revised, and we will need to take some action on that.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Again, I'm gonna give a throw to the county administrator. Matt, as this is something your office requested, and then the board directed me to revise their policy, their rules and their policy and rules of procedure. Would you like to give a brief overview of that before I go into it any further?
I would. Thank you very much. We're asking for this policy update to set in, I guess, our county policies, a new threshold deadline for getting materials in for the board meeting. Of course, there's always exceptions if the chairman, the county administrator, or the county attorney have something that they need on there as an emergency. That will find its way on an agenda after we call and talk to the chairman about that. But what we're attempting to do is to try to set a reasonable time frame to get the board packets done earlier. There's been a couple of occasions where staff had to come in on Saturdays to finish the board packets because stuff was just late. And we're trying to, support the administrative staff on enforcing those deadlines on our department heads and other agencies that need to come before the board to have action taken on requests and different things to, get their information to us as soon as they can. And we're happy with the policy change that we think that it will affect the change that will help our department heads get their stuff in on time, and also let the administrative staff prepare a better packet for the board and an earlier packet. So you're guaranteed to have at least the weekend to look it over. So I would highly recommend the board adopt the policy as written.
Thank you, Matt. I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have. You'll notice it's on the last page of your packet and board packet, page 91. The board's current policy under Article 5, Agenda and Citizen Participation, Section 5-1, states that the county administrator has the discretion to determine the deadline. But then in parentheses after that, it lists the 4:30 p.m., the Tuesday before the meeting. My recommendation is simply to remove that parenthesis with that information and leave it at the county administrator's discretion, so that if there are future changes, we're not having to come back and go through this whole process again. The policy is the administrator gets to set that deadline. I think we just need to keep that clear and concise, and administration is going to make it very clear to anyone who asks, and we can put it on the website. So there are ways to communicate it, this change, but I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions to Ms. Lewis? Yes, I think it's a good thing to do what we're doing for sure.
Thank you.
We talked about that a little bit at the last meeting.
Mhm.
With that, a motion would be in order for board's policies and procedures, the revised draft that we are talking about. Yeah.
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Bill Harris,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Randy Crittenden. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please. Ms. Riccardi.
Mr. Crittenden,
Yes.
Mr. Jesse,
Yes.
Mr. Williams, Mr. Bill Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris.
Yes, motion's approved.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, number 7. County Attorney update.
I don't have anything, but I know I'd be remiss if I didn't say, Matt, did you have anything else under the administrator updates?
Just a quick update. Thanks, Heather. We had a very successful meeting with the school staff, Tracy Seitz and Karen Murray, Monday. We have another budget meeting with them scheduled for the 13th of March. So we've got a couple of things on our end that we're brushing up on with the latest changes in the state budget that we're massaging to see how we fit into ours. And we're getting more information from them as well. So I think we're on track to have a very successful budget meeting on the 18th. And though it may not sound like it, y'all are still on track to have an expedited budget adoption. Unless something happens between now and then, and I'm knocking on wood. So that was all. Thanks, Heather. And
Are the
thanks.
numbers in black yet?
The numbers are not in black yet.
Okay, then we ain't finished yet.
We're headed in that direction though, and a lot better than they were the last time y'all saw it.
Well, all joking aside, I think staff is doing a great job in proceeding in that direction. Thank y'all all very much for that. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
How about item number 8, unfinished and new business? Any unfinished business that we need to talk about at this time? Okay, any new business we need to talk about?
Maybe you're here.
Okay, matters presented by the board. I'll start in Mr. Jesse, our senior representative here. Go
Well,
ahead,
I
sir.
did attend the PDC meeting and, you know, and naturally we did discuss the dredging and everything.
Yes.
And also we did talk about, how to organize from the top to the bottom. And they also talked about the municipal dredge that will be, in the Middle Peninsula within 2 years. I think, Louis is going to go get, what is $7 million and get that all lined up to put it in so they can have everything set up. Did I miss anything, Matt?
No, he has to go to Winchester to get that $7 million, and it sounds like it's finally going to happen. And Louis' organizational chart had him heading up the program. So I can't be more excited about that program. I think it's going to do a world good and going to make these dredging projects, not only for Broad Creek, but all the other creeks in Middlesex and in the Middle Peninsula, go forward a lot smoother.
You good? Mr. Crittenden?
Oh, well, I'd just like to echo that I think that the municipal dredging project is a real plus, and look forward to seeing that come to fruition. Also wanted to particularly thank the county staff recently who've been dealing with the Broad Creek dredging project. We've had meetings with members who are interested, or citizens who are interested in that, and they've asked a lot of good questions. And Mr. Kretz and his staff and the county staff have been great in answering those questions of finding what needed to be done, how it can be done as expeditiously as possible, and I certainly appreciate that.
I'll echo that as well. I think we're getting some good communication from the marinas owners. And, you know, we had a little bit of a struggle in that what we applied for and what we want to do, we were limited on what we could do. But those conversations are very valuable because it will incite us of making sure we don't miss any opportunities out there by those discussions, and I think that's very valuable. For matters presented by me, the steering committee, I see Mr. Feldhauser is here, is continuing to talk about opportunities of what we can get the EDA involved in and how that might work. We're also looking at surplus properties that we have in the county, what would be a smart use for those. So we're looking at all of those. Myself and Wayne are also on the high school renovation project. And that's continuing to move along on discussions we're having. With that being said, how do you want me to handle, because we had weather constraints on the day that we were presenting some ideas about the renovation of the high school and or questions, and particularly the architect coming and showing some rendition of what he thought could be possible. How do you want to go about me setting the appointment for us to meet with the school board and see from the architect what initial drawings they are? I'll tell you that whatever the architect comes is subject to change or additions, or have it think about this. So it's more of an informative meeting than a decision-based meeting. Do you guys have a flavor for when I should try to set that with you guys and the board? Okay. So are we thinking a possibility of March, or I'll look both at March and April? Does that work for everybody?
Very, It'd be the very end of March or April for me.
That's right. When are you coming back? Oh, okay, okay.
And I
Okay.
believe they said they needed it to be Mondays or Tuesdays after 4:30. Wasn't that their restrictions for their board?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Does Mondays and Tuesday create a problem for anybody at this point? And what kind of time frame we're talking about? I think they were looking at a 4 o'clock or 4:30, something like that. Does that work for everybody? Okay. 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 I will talk, and my marching orders were to talk to the board and get a flavor for how and when we would want to do that. And then I'll talk to Tracy and get a little more information about what they can't do. And then I'll contact you guys and see if that particular date that we may target works for you or not. And or if you have some specific dates that is a problem. Does that sound reasonable to everybody? Okay, wonderful. All right, well, y'all must have something to do tonight. Everybody moving along pretty quickly. Okay, I'd like to now open the floor for any.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I got stuff to do too. Go ahead, Bill. My bad.
I visited some other counties and stuff, and that's how we're research and work that May did. I'd like to thank her again for doing that. I think we all need to get all the information we can because there might be a better way of doing business, and it might be better for Middlesex in the future for us being able to get help and so forth and so on if we look at keeping that tax rate, but not increasing the people's taxes in a way through a rebate take program. Also was really happy to see Dominion Power sent out a reminder to us all that they were looking for local contractors on the project they're getting ready to do here in the county. And that's what needs to happen. I'm glad that everyone here in this room, I think, conveyed that they need to look and hire local contractors, and them getting the list together and everything was good. We need to make sure we'd always do that. Thank you.
Mr. Williams?
Well, I went to the meeting, with the Middle Peninsula along with Wayne, and I think what they're using at Broad Creek is, going down there. I think that's a blessing in itself, but sometimes you can't always satisfy everybody. Everybody, sometimes they will come along and do something extra, But I kind of got puzzled a little bit, and this is the Water Authority. The hookup rate now is $12,000. And I know somebody that really, probably need to hook up. And they own Route 33. So all of a sudden, we know why we put the water in and what direction we was going in. And we know who is hooked up on it. But now we got a price, up to $12,000. We got some that paid $2,500 or $3,000. So they paid $2,500 and $3,000, put the county in $35 million worth of debt. So if they hadn't paid that money up, they wouldn't have put us in debt. So I don't look at them as being paid less. I don't look at any of them because we got more money by paying us to go in debt. But now I'm concerned about the ones right on the main highway. And just suppose, I said it before about costs. As long as the Water Authority is going south, it's not a mystery. They need money. They're going south. But yet, what are they doing positive for the county itself? What are you doing for the resident that will hook up? And most of the time, the argument we're gonna hear is John Henry paid 7, the other one paid 9, and the other one paid, 10. So now you got some paying 12, and I read you come at you and said, what is cost? So this is what I'm saying. I want to revisit how they do it. I'm not too much concerned about who paid yesterday because it's done. And I'll use an automobile. If you go out and buy an automobile yesterday and you paid, and you walk over the next day and you pay so much, you pay more. And this is what I'm saying. If we need hookups. That's what we need. Yet we're setting a price to eliminate the hookups. And what I'm saying is that if it don't cost the county any money, then you're tacking a fee that you can make. So you're already making money. Then you can start paying the money that you need to pay right away because you can do the hookup at no cost, plus a smaller fee. And when you get up to money, and I get the feeling that you're counting the $12,000 and figure you can hook it up for four, these on the low side. So you got $8,000 you can put in the budget and run down your debt. So we're looking at, and I have seen things like that happen, that we count the money that we could make and we're losing the money that's right there in front of us. So I will give you an example. Suppose a person that retired is on Route 33, probably on the opposite side of the road from what you are. It probably takes $5,000 or $6,000 to run that line across the road. Then they got to hook it up. And you tell that person, it's going to cost you $12,000 because of what? What I'm saying is revisit it, find out what it costs, and then maybe tack a 20% or whatever you want to tack on it. Say, look, this is the price it's going to be. But guess what? You got one more person on it. Down in my district down around the airport, you got 16 people that paid $1,000 down. And you got 60 some $1,000, I think, to run the line down there to them. 600 some $1,000 to run the line down to them. But are we wheeling? I'm going to use simple words, like I know, wheeling and dealing. So you still make money off it, because that when we set the price with all these different people doing it, are we doing small things? Because if we negotiate, so whatever the cost is, it don't cost us no money. And plus we can tack on. And at the same time, we're getting a fee each month. So if we started thinking a little bit different altogether, then we got to realize that, guess what? If you're going south, I don't know if you're in the budget now or not, Matt, but if they're in the budget, give me the money. I'm not giving them no money. I'm not going to vote for it. So I probably won't vote for the whole budget because of the reason. But I'm not going to give you money when you're not trying to help the people of Middlesex County. And when we start looking at the pipeline that we ran it straight from up there bound, and some of us got deals. Just in some of your things, some of us you got deals, so they didn't tie up right now, but you gave them a deal because they negotiated. So when we started dealing with prices and what behind the doors, some are getting less prices than the others. All I'm saying is that, hey, put it on the Sentinel, put it right out there on the front page. We're in trouble. We're gonna hook up, and I'm not gonna say, well, we want to be fair. Yeah, well, what is fair if I pay $12,000 and Wayne paid $5,000? But guess what? It was my choice to pay 12. All right, we can make it look good. I think now you can pay down 5 and then you can turn around and finance 7. You're not trying to help nobody, because are you saying that the 5 is what it costs to hook up? And if you don't hook up, guess who they're gonna come and pay? The same people gonna pay taxes that you won't hook up to give them a fair price. And that I've been looking at that for a good little while, because I think we got to do something. People made mistakes because they did not hook up. And I would tell them, oh, you better hook up, pay that money. Then we have some that paid the money that didn't hook up. So they pay a fee because they got money. The ones that got deep pockets have already paid and the rest did. Okay, now you take people that are working, retired, widowers and stuff like this. Do we address the senior citizen that could be at hardship that need water? And, most of the scenarios that I come up with is that I look at, we got to treat everybody fair, but fair all the time don't mean equal. And that's what I'm saying. That's the only thing that I'm saying, that we got to think of a way to help people. And that's every system got to do it. And we should be, if we come to the county and the taxpayers to ask for something, we should be well put together. I need this, I need that, we're gonna put in this. And where's the cost at, so we make a decision? Where is the money that you're saying something costs without playing a guessing game? That we can make a decision based on the numbers you have, then we can question it because we have some numbers. But when you don't put together a program that you can help, and the water authority gonna hear, because I'm gonna talk with Tim, what's his name? With the head, Chip.
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk to Chip and see where we at, and sometimes you can get tied behind something that you want change. And I'm seeing that you can make a decision and you support it and you don't back off. And you don't back off your decision, not because of what is wrong or right. It's because you You're just not thinking about what you want to do. And, since I've been, working on the board of supervisors, I think about what goes on in the county. And I think about how it works. Because if you don't know how it works and you don't think about it, then you just playing the flow. And in society today, we know a whole lot of people that don't think about nothing. Okay? We want to be better than that, and I think Millsix can be a lot better. And don't feel bad if you get in the weeds and change your mind. It's okay. Don't let the weeds choke you to death and you make a bad decision. So one of them got dawned. They ain't hooked up nothing yet, and they still got a discount price.
And Mr. Williams, I'd encourage you to talk to Mr. England and get Matt involved in that discussion. And when it needs to come in front of us, it needs to come in front of us. If nothing more than just to discuss options.
Yeah, I would think we'd want the chairman of the water authority there as well.
Yes, yes. Okay, thank you. Any further discussion, questions? All right. I now will open public comment. Anyone like to say anything? Seeing none, hearing none, a motion for adjournment would be in order.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Motion made by Mr. Jesse to adjourn and a second.
Second.
By Mr. Crittenden. Roll call, please. Ms. Ricardi?
Mr. Jesse,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Crittenden,
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris.
Yes. Motion